the revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.
Matt Lenihan for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fight Store and Our Kings Competitions. We're here with Gareth A. Davies. Gareth, it's an early morning, but I suppose it's not really. But how are we, mate? Are you all right?
No, it's definitely an early morning. Don't make any bones about it. It's very early on Tuesday morning. I'm all right, thank you. I'm very good. I'm just saying how the squirrels are running across the lawn, hiding things for the winter, and the geese are starting to fly south across the autumn skies. And it's that time of year.
Yeah.
It's starting to. You can start to feel the nip late at night and early in the morning.
Do you Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. Do you tend to dip this time of year then? Obviously, I think we've had quite a decent summer, decent weather, light out. But do you sort of go with does your mood go with the way of the season?
Dad goes sad, yeah. Seasonal disorder. A little bit, definitely. I mean, we're not, I mean, the sunlight's still beautiful at this time of year without this being a weather report rather than a boxing chat. But
No.
I think definitely feel that change in the season in a big way. I mean, it started at the beginning of September, and I just think, without being morbid, the passing of Ricky Hatton. I just learnt last night that just under a week ago, Thomas Gervonta passed away as well. I don't know if you know Thomas or knew Tom.
I didn't. I didn't know him, but I saw all the reports that come out
And
just in the last day or so.
Because I'd obviously come back from Vegas late last week, and Tom was a really good friend and really good guy, and so I read a lot of reports last night. I only found out late in the evening and spoke to some friends who were very close to him. I was friends with him for years and years because he and I both, started working for the UFC 20 years ago. 20 years he'd written loads and loads of pieces, as very much the kind of historian, if you like, the writing historian of the UFC. I'm very, very sad to learn about that. A very kind disposition, Thomas, but a strong character as well. And years back, writing for Max Boxing, he'd been around in boxing same time as me, and very sad to learn that he's passed away at the age of 57.
Yeah, no age at all. It's a sad time in general. Back to back, obviously losses, etc. Not good, not good. Look, in terms of what we're going to talk about today, I think we covered quite a lot in the last one, but I want to start with last night. Obviously, it was very late, but I managed to catch it. We had the opening press conference for Gervonta Davis.
Oh yeah,
and Jake Paul.
Yeah, I saw that.
When I saw the press conference keep getting moved and the actual location of the fight, I was having slight doubts of whether we actually will get there and get over the line. But look, they've had the first sort of duel or whatever. I think they're having another press conference in Miami. Just first off, what did you make of Gervonta Davis's sort of demeanour? He was put a lot of questions were put to him about his boxing career and is he the face of boxing? And he was almost very much like dismissive. Look, I'm just another guy. I'm not the face of boxing. Very much almost like downbeat about it. And this event will have loads of eyeballs on it. But what did you sort of make of Gervonta and how he sort of went about the presser?
He reminded me of a northern football fan being dragged to a shopping centre on a Saturday afternoon rather than being allowed to go to his favourite Liverpool seat. You'll relate to that, won't you?
Yeah.
It was almost like he'd been shackled and dragged there against his will. Even when they faced off, it was as if Jake Paul had a bad smell about him or something. He didn't want to get near Jake Paul. He didn't want to. I'm just going to plug this in as well. I just realised it's not plugged in. It was almost as if he didn't want to indulge anyone at all. Like he'd signed up against his will, and then It's like he'd been signed up against his will. The agents and his manager and his handler had dragged him there without briefing him on what was going on and where it would be and what time it would take place. And there was this oaf in his mind standing there in front of him, this big oaf who kept posturing, and it just didn't do anything to him. I wondered at one point whether he was going to burst out with a combination of punches or something and just drop Jake Paul, who was being, measuring him up and going down to his height, and it was all very peculiar in my view. Like he really wasn't taking it seriously.
He had you mentioned there he was sort of sizing up, but he did more than that. He Jake Paul's not one for mincing words. He does cross that line however he pleases. He brought up Tank's legal issues, obviously stuff that came out recently. And look, I think it's important to say when you report stuff like this, the opposite needs to come out and say charges got dropped from this latest one, from what came out. So you've got to say that as well. But he comes across. It
doesn't mean it didn't happen though.
I 100%. But I think if you're going to report it like a lot of people did, you don't get the flip side of people saying, "Well, actually, charges." Right. So it's got to be kind of balanced. But I looked at that press conference and I was just like, this guy for me has always had pound for pound skills, and you just want to see the resume with pound for pound fighters and them come together and create something. And what do you make of the rule set? It's going to be, I believe, 10 rounds, 12-ounce gloves. They're talking about knocking each other out. But how does that work in an exhibition? I thought the idea of an exhibition was not to knock the other person out. Is this are these just words, or is it allowed? They're saying that there can be a decisive winner. Where does it marry up all this?
Well, there's an end game and a bookend to what Jake Paul's doing, and I think he's getting very close to the bone with this one because it doesn't really work. It's the biggest freak show so far. Like you say, Gervonta is not in everybody's list, but he's there or thereabouts in the pound for pound list. I mean, since the Lamont Roach fight, people have been down on him a little bit more. A lot of people think he might have lost that fight. Obviously his troubles and travails away from the ring have meant that people are starting to question. At 33 now, is he?
No, I don't even think he's that.
31.
I think it's 31 max.
31. Yeah, but they're beginning to question his validity.
But yeah, go on.
31. Yeah. 30. Okay. Yeah. They're beginning to question, I don't we all are, but people are in general beginning to, pundits and some fans are beginning to question his validity in that top 10 pound for pound list. I think he belongs there myself, or just outside it. Certainly in the top 15, no question. Maybe top 13. I think I've got him. I think I had him at 11 or 12, but I might have done a list on Saturday night. And obviously, we want to see him in the ring with Shakur Stevenson. It's the big fight. Or even in Naoya Inoue at some point. Which is a fantasy matchup that I remember dreaming about around the same time I was dreaming about Terence Crawford and Saul Canelo Alvarez a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. That's a fight that should be doable, but obviously he's being held away from the Saudi Arabian mix, Turki Al Sheikh, and he looked listless yesterday and disinterested, all those things, and it was plain to see it. It was there in plain sight. It wasn't, it wasn't. I don't know whether he was feigning it. I don't know whether he was acting it, but he just looked unhappy. He didn't look happy. He didn't look happy to be there, and it doesn't surprise me because this fight does nothing for him other than line his bank vault, and he'll probably earn 10 to 15 million for this, if not more. And it will probably do more numbers on Netflix, or will it? Than than Terence Crawford and Saul Canelo Alvarez, or somewhere in that region, especially if they pull off a few more stunts, given the numbers that follow Jake Paul. It's a peculiar matchup. I've said to you before, and it's still my feeling in a sense, that we may not see them in a ring together, even though we are just 6.5 weeks away from that now. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So maybe it is going to go ahead, but it wouldn't surprise me to see Gervonta Davis suddenly get injured and pull out of the fight. But it's just an odd one. It's an odd one. But it's Jake Paul, Gervonta Davis, like you say, one of the stars of American boxing, and he really is. A year ago he was the face, or 2 years ago he was the face of American boxing. He certainly ain't it now.
In terms of how it would actually work and come together, 12-ounce gloves. Well, there's a lot of stories from, and I believe them to be absolutely true from the people I've heard from, of him. He used to knock heavyweights out in the gym, Gervonta Davis, spiteful puncher, as we all know, at lower weights. But do you ever envisage a scenario where he gets in the ring and sets about Jake and actually does stop him and put an end to him?
I'm not sure he can put an end to him. There's going to be 60 pounds between them. 135 versus 195, I think they said, is going to be the limit of the weight.
Yeah.
So, and he's going to have to boil down a little bit. So he's going to have to get very fit. It's just such a peculiar fight to call.
It's weird.
I think Gervonta might have to work hard, to move around. I'm just seeing a silhouette of Jake Paul getting hurt to the body and stopped. But then again, I don't know. I'm thinking Amir Khan, with his flashing fists, not being knocked out, not taking away his chin, his attacks on Journeyman. No, I don't see Gervonta being able to knock Jake Paul out.
No.
I don't see it. I don't see it.
Well, look, let's move away from the exhibition.
Yeah,
Let's
get away from the autumn and get back into the summer.
Yeah, sorry. Look, we spoke briefly last week regarding the Eubank Benn press conference. There was a lot that came out from it, but more recently, I saw you guys had Robert Smith address these.
I spoke to him before the show. I got some quotes from.
Yeah. So just from your point of view, what Eubank said was quite serious. You've seen talking about it with Turkey Al Sheikh as well, and I think a lot of people have come in for criticism for that, saying, "Look, he's quite jovial when he's talking about it in front of Turkey." And
wasn't he just?
Yeah, wasn't
he just the kid in a candy store?
Yeah. Whereas in comparison to the press conference, there was a different light shed on it. But what do you make, obviously, Robert's comments towards it all? I know you've had chats with him. I know I've seen him on TalkSport as well, address these issues. So what do you sort of make of his reaction to what was, say, some wild comments? But look, it's for him to prove, I suppose.
I think he played the villain and he played the victim at the same time, Chris Eubank. And I thought the comments about Robert Smith himself as a scumbag were uncalled for. I just think I've known Robert a long time, and he's got a very difficult job to do at the boxing board of control. It is a wild west boxing. I mean, and if they just spent their entire time policing the sport, it would be a can of worms for them. I mean, obviously they had a difficult time with the Conor Benn story. One of the most difficult things he had to deal with. He's open about that. I thought Robert also was addressing the tardiness of the ambulance, or the ambulance being stopped from leaving when he was in a gurney for 20 minutes. That would have disturbed Robert because the safety procedures, the boxing board of control are paramount. And if there was a delay, I tell you what, what I recall is the roads being appalling. I don't know if you were there on the night
Yeah,
live.
we touched on this the other day, saying about the traffic and how it
Yeah,
was
it was
gridlocked. I know you biked, I think, 4 miles
yeah,
maybe away from the actual venue. But
correct.
when you talk about Robert Smith now, surely when he hears them comments, even before his name's brought up, he goes, we have to conduct some form of full investigation here to see what's gone on, because if
Yeah.
this is just Eubank playing like you said there, the villain and the victim, then it needs addressing.
No, they're bound to look into it. They will try to understand why there was a delay in the ambulance leaving the venue. It doesn't. You can't think of a reason why anyone would have delayed an ambulance from leaving deliberately,
Mhm.
other than for someone's own safety. Um, the I can't work it out in my head what those say the only logical reason is that terrible logjam of traffic that was outside the
Mhm.
stadium that we experienced, probably I'd say 45 minutes after the event, an hour after the event, that went on till 2, 3 in the morning. It was extraordinary. I've never really, I don't think I've ever experienced as much chaos as that outside an event ever.
No, no, it was.
Um,
I can speak firsthand. I didn't leave till way after, and it was still
2
absolutely
a.m. I
unreal.
think you said you left in the end,
Yeah,
sorry.
late, yeah, obviously after the presser and stuff. But Robert Smith has obviously says that he can't say too much on it, just because obviously they've taken legal advice,
Yes, that's what he told me. Yeah.
and that he's disappointed anyone would say that any member of the board would do anything detrimental for a boxer's health. And when you see some of the tragic stuff that's happened over the years, this must be probably one of the biggest things that can cut into something like the British Boxing Board of Control. So he must be hurting when he hears these comments.
I don't think it'd be hurting, but it just probably disturbed slightly, and obviously taking action, like he says, that he's consulting, his legal team are consulting over the advice. It's a bit like when Eddie Hearn was there at the press conference, wanted Eubank to say it was
Yeah.
Matchroom that had delayed the ambulance. So he obviously, wanting Eubank to get his facts wrong, if you like, trying to draw him into that trap. Um, but it was. Again, I think it was Eubanks airing his grievances at the press conference created both the spectacle,
Hmm.
like I say, and also caused kind of consternation around those who he's going up against. So, but likewise, Ben Shalom, when we interviewed him afterwards for Talk Sport on the Fight Night Daily podcast, his grievances were aired as well. I mean, I've never heard him swear so much in the space of 5 minutes, where he was so angry about everything. And there really is this feeling that they're not just up against a Conor Benn in the ring, but they're up against the rising tide of a group of people who are looking to, cause their downfall.
Yeah.
And I listen, there's always that rivalry between the home promoter and the away fighter, and I suppose Conor Benn is the home fighter in lots of senses. Like Chris Eubank pointed out, Conor
Hmm.
Benn was like the conquering hero the following week in Times Square, and good on him. His stock had risen, but he's turned away from the drugs cheat allegations and
Hmm.
labeling to, you know, all these things, the rehydration clause, the sabotaging of the weigh-in, the sending Billy Joe Saunders into his. But I mean, what's wrong with sending Billy Joe Saunders into his dressing room? It's their
No,
right. They can send
no,
whoever they want.
Gareth, come on. You know yourself. When that man
Yeah,
got
I mean, he
sent,
would have
no,
caused.
no, of all the of all the individuals you could have picked out in boxing, and you know what, Napper as well. I remember speaking to him. He says, no matter what, he will not be walking in this dressing room. But it's,
It all added to the spectacle.
of course, it is.
And Conor Benn had his team had their weapons, if you like, and Chris Eubank is now retaliating. And like he's a very good speaker. He's got a very bright mind, you know. And we're on again. And you know, they needed to create some noise. I mean, without Chris Eubank Jr., it wouldn't have made a lot of noise, this press conference. So, you know, and Eddie Hearn got to promote his new Netflix series, which I've watched, which is pretty decent. I'd like to have learnt a little bit more, but there wasn't much in there that I didn't know, really. So, but I'm sure the general public will really enjoy the Greatest Showmen on Matchroom.
Let's just touch on that quickly, because I've seen it as well. What struck me was that with that business, it's done so well. £100 business, born out of a small office. Barry Hearn really has done the whole dream, and now it's worth north of $1 billion, etc. Was the openness in terms of conversation with regards to like a selling and to Saudi in particular, and that Turkey is interested. What did you make?
Spoiler alert, that plays out in the end, doesn't it? So, and clearly we know 2 years on, we know what's happened. So, they're money men. They're money men. They're big money men. Barry, I've known a very long time. I'm a big advocate of what Barry's done, much in the same way as what Frank Warren's done. But obviously, Barry has branched out.
Incredible story, not just with the
it is an incredible story, but I wanted to see. I wanted to see at home with the horses. I wanted to see Eddie at home a little bit more. I didn't want to just see him at work all the time. I didn't know, was there a point in having the Matt Porter and I've forgotten her name now.
Emily Fraser, you're talking about?
Emily Fraser, yeah. It branched out. I thought it was going to be edited in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
And obviously that was filmed over 2 years because, we saw the success and failure, and we also saw the failure when things go wrong, how it doesn't really affect the company. When Anthony Joshua loses to Daniel Dubois, when Conor Benn loses to Chris Eubank, we saw some drama in there. We saw it going wrong for Eddie at the Jake Paul event when Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fought.
Yeah.
We could have learnt more about the legal case between Jake Paul and Eddie Hearn. We could have learnt more about. It ends with, like you say, them talking to Turki Al Sheikh ringside. It was interesting, but the thing I think because I sit here in a position knowing an awful lot about their business and the business they're in, like you say, what they've done as a company is extraordinary. But I didn't really learn a lot personally. I didn't learn a lot new about them, and I'd like to have learnt about them a bit new. And there was always that air of that the music was slightly comedic at times, so it was leading you on a dance. Look, it's going to be a very successful series with the public, but I just felt like the editing was a bit disjointed at times. I hope I'm not being unfair there.
It's your opinion. I think it's difficult because I don't say we, but you especially come from more of a place in the know. Whereas if I show that documentary, my dad, my mum, who maybe aren't, as invested or hear about things behind the scenes, and it's like, boom, this is completely new. This is what they've done. I think it probably hits a little bit different.
I will say this. And we know Eddie's an extraordinary, hard-working character, and he's Edward is someone that we would miss if he wasn't in the sport. He brings so much to it. People are very critical of him, but Barry, with all his fighting all his health woes, and he's got an amazing energy about him. I've always thought that about Barry. Anyway, I can remember sitting for 2 or 3 hours with him in his. I'd like to have seen the cricket ground in it. That's on the that's on the father's estate, where he plays in the second team, or he might be in the third or fourth team now, because I've been sitting with him before a few years back in the clubhouse, where he's regaling me with stories of batting at number 8 and saving the game, or bowling 12 overs, and he's got an incredible energy, and I think we should celebrate that. Barry, going into his late 70s now, is a great figure, and I think we're very lucky that, regardless of the criticism that's out there for everyone these days, we should feel very lucky that we've got someone like that in our sport.
I was just about to say, to finish that off, my biggest takeaway was that was almost, I saw that and was like, that is an example for somebody who, with all his health struggles, and I think after that wasn't documented, he has had a further heart problem. But then I remember speaking to Eddie about it, and he says, "Oh, don't worry, he's played cricket since," and he was almost at a wry smile, because that's a guy who's he's at a certain stage of life, but he's still living. He's not existing, he's living.
His father died at the age of, I think it was his father, certainly the grandfather died at 44. I don't know if it's the same side of the Hearn family. And the father before that obviously had issues as well. And having had them myself, having had heart problems myself, I remember talking to Barry about it, a few years back. And, he's a very strong character from great stock. And I think that comes across really well. And Eddie's a public school boy, really, and gone to private school, and he is caught between a rock and a hard place at times. And that came across very strongly, that there was a kind of an element of suddenly my WhatsApp's working on my laptop. Don't know why. Thank God. No, but it's definitely worth watching, of course, and I would advocate anyone go out there and watch it.
Look, I think that about wraps it up.
Okay.
But I really appreciate your time, Gareth, as always.
You're welcome.
We'll jump on next week when there's hopefully a little bit more in the offing, and look, we'll start talking about a Dave Allen versus Matt Madoff coming up, an award.
Lovely.
Parker. Yeah.
Lovely. Cheers, buddy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
See you as always. Cheers, Lifesaver.
See you soon, bud. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
The revolutionary ankle lock system, an integrated brace built into the boots, delivering unrivaled support, protecting ligaments from twists, tears, and trauma.